Welcome back, everybody, to the Excellence in Education podcast, sponsored by the Pike County School System. I am Jeff Vanderbeck. I'm the publisher of the News Express and several other papers around the region. And I am also your host and moderator of today's podcast. Today, I'm joined by a very special guest. As you know, we've been highlighting teachers and principals from all around the county school system. Today, I'm joined by Miss Sandy Merrill. She's the principal of Bevins Elementary,
Mhm.
and I want to thank you for joining me today, Miss Merrill.
Thank
So,
you for inviting me. I'm excited to be here.
can
My
I
first
call
podcast.
can I call you Miss Merrill? Do they call you Miss Merrill, or
Miss Merrill's fine.
can I call you Sandy?
Sandy was wonderful. Yes,
Just don't
absolutely.
just
No
don't
problem.
call me late for
That's
dinner, right?
that's okay. Yes.
So, Sandy, tell me about yourself. Where are you from? What do you do? What's your background?
I'm from over at Sydney, born and raised. My background, I've been in education for 20 years.
Okay.
I get to be the principal of the school I actually went to as a little girl. That's pretty special. Lots of home ties there. I graduated from Midway College with my teaching degree and then went on to Union to get master's degrees.
Union College, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And so, what made you come back to Pike County?
I just moved back to family, to be honest. I think family is super important, and I wanted to be around my nieces and nephews and family and watch them grow up and have my kids have that experience that I had as a little girl, too.
Sure. So you went to Bevins Elementary Schools when you were a student, a
Right.
wee lass,
Yeah.
and when you were going to school, did you know what you wanted to be when you got big?
I honestly thought that when I got older, I'd want to be a nurse. I always wanted to be a nurse. And then for some reason, like, God just started dealing with me. I'm like, okay, that's not what I'm supposed to do. I'm supposed to be in teaching. Actually, my husband even said, if you're going to go back to school, you need to go into medicine because there's not a lot of money in education. And I said, well, it's not about the money, and it's really not. It's a very blessed profession that it's an intricate reward every day. I love it.
So you went from nursing to, or thought about going into
Yeah,
nursing
thought
to
about it.
going
Yeah.
into education.
Yeah.
So as an educator, what did you teach before? Where did you teach, and what were you teaching?
I started out at Bevins.
Okay.
I taught language arts and social studies there for most of the 20 years. I was a reading first coach for a year. I worked with the littles for a couple of years, but for
Sure.
the most part, I was in third grade.
Sure. Well, how has so third grade, and then
Mhm.
you did that third grade for 20 years?
Yeah, I did third grade for about 15 of them.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then you went in to become a principal.
Yes.
So I've got a whole bunch of questions.
Okay.
How has education changed from the time you started to today?
It's changed considerably. I think maybe the biggest change that we saw was during that COVID year. I know it changed the world, but it really did in education because, you have the folks like me that when I went to school, technology wasn't the big thing.
Sure.
So during that year, it was a scary year, but was probably the greatest growth year that I've ever experienced because you get thrown at so much that you had to learn so quickly and stuff. So yeah, that probably was the biggest change.
So what encompasses the quality of a good educational program in your opinion? So a lot of the principals I talk to talk about we have students who have different challenges.
Mhm.
So in your opinion, what constitutes a good learning environment?
Really, I think a good learning environment has to be a place where your students feel safe and where they feel loved above all else. There's an old saying that students do better when they feel loved. And I think that's absolutely true. We have kids that don't want to get out for summer right now. They're upset because they're not going to get to come to school and see those people that love them every day. So I think that's part of the challenge is that maybe they don't always feel that love at home. Not in all cases, of course, but in
Sure.
some
Right.
cases, that makes the job so special that you're placed in something where you get to love children every day and be an important part of their life, that you're the center of their world sometimes.
Right.
That's a big responsibility, but it's a big blessing as well.
So this is the end of your first year as a principal.
Yeah.
Okay. And as an educator, you mentioned something that really I want to hit on. Students leave at the end of the school year.
Yeah.
They go to wherever they go. They go home. They go to camps. They go to
Mhm.
work, or they go to do whatever they do.
Mhm.
They come back 3 months later. What happens in those 3 months, and how hard is it for the kids to get back into the cycle of school? Not only from a teacher standpoint, but from a principal standpoint. This will be your first year as a principal
Yeah,
being the second year of a principal, if you will.
right, coming back in, yeah.
So how does
Um,
that affect the
and
students
and
and
it
the
really
teachers?
affects them all differently.
Yeah.
You know, like I said, you have those some students that are so excited and can't wait, and then you have those other students that wanna sleep in, and they're not really excited when that bus is out there waiting for 'em or mom's shaking them to wake them up, so it's really kind of different depending on the experience that they actually get to have during the summer.
And how hard is it to get them back in that groove? And what motivation techniques, if you will, or do you have to use, or do your staff have to use to get
Yeah.
those kids back going?
Pike County does a fabulous job, I think, of starting us back on opening day, like on a Thursday every year. So that gives those kids Thursday and Friday to kind of get back in and learn new procedures and get back used to that before they go for that full week. And we do a lot of procedures and getting them warmed back up and getting them to be with their friends and getting it out of their system just a little bit. So by Monday, they're ready to go to work.
Sure. You went from being a teacher in the classroom
Mhm,
to the administrator.
mhm.
Why did you do that?
Listen, it was
You have my
I
attention.
love it. It is the greatest job I've ever done.
Which
You know,
one?
I told
Being a
them
principal?
I think being a principal because, like, I'm this mother hen type person. I always want to take care of everybody. You know, it's one reason being a teacher, you get to take care of kids all the time and
Sure.
stuff, you know, and I love that. And seeing their eyes light up when they get something. But, you know, maybe even a greater blessing is getting to be a principal and watching those teachers' eyes light up when they figure out how to get those kids to make those connections and things and change their lives. So I love it, but really the decision, it really wasn't mine. I when I went to school, I've got my master's in educational leadership and then a supervisor instruction. And you know, you just got to get a master's in something, you know. So it wasn't really, I didn't put a whole lot of thought in doing it. I just finished up, you know, my education and stuff. But then later on, I just kind of felt a calling on my life and I argued with it. And I was like, hey, I don't want to do that. You know, being a principal is a lot of responsibilities. I don't think I want to do that. I really like being a teacher. I think, but I kept feeling this increased calling on my life that that's what I was supposed to do. So I finally said, okay, Lord, what do you know, put me where you would have me to be. And I was blessed and it worked out and I love it.
Sure. You mentioned that the teachers have a look of excitement in their eyes.
Yes.
How hard is it for you as the administrator? You're basically the CEO of the
Yeah.
school who has to answer to the board. How hard is it as the CEO to motivate not only the students but the teachers, the faculty, the staff, the food service people, the bus driver, all that? How hard is it to motivate those people, and what techniques do you use to get people motivated?
I am very personable with everyone. I try to make those connections. I'm in classrooms every day. I think just the same way with your kids, you build that relationship with your students. I think that's very important as a principal too, to build that relationship across your campus with everyone involved and
Sure.
show them respect. I mean, you know, you get respect because you give respect. So I think that's super important to be involved in the day to days and be all throughout the building and to speak to the kids and the staff members and everybody, you know, to treat everybody with a lot of respect and be there for them when they need you.
Right.
I think that's the greatest way to build that is just to always have their back, to be there to listen when they need somebody to talk to or to do whatever else you might have to do as
Sure.
CEO as a building, you know,
Right.
to take care of things. Yeah.
As you're educating these students, and as you're leading the charge, if you will, um, these students are very impressionable at this young age.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Do you have to encourage them to do a lot of reading? How do you and how do you encourage them to get involved with books and reading things and
Yeah.
staying away from these stupid things
Yeah.
and
No. Yeah.
and not paying it, and paying attention
Yeah.
to and exploring things? How do you get them motivated at a young age to do that?
Absolutely. I bet every principal that's come in here has said that. I have the greatest staff. They are absolutely amazing and they know how to get their kids involved and to keep it exciting and it's always new every day and when they come in the classroom they're like, "Oh, what are we going to do today?" I mean, really we don't do a whole lot of other than our normal um day-to-days with our kids and teaching and doing what we're supposed to do. The kids are really excited to come in for the most part.
Sure. Those are, the 3 R's, the reading, writing,
Yeah.
arithmetic are very important, and
Yes,
then
absolutely.
throw in science, so 3 R's and then the S, are there. But I also believe there's a different dimension of educating, you hit it before, where
Mhm.
each child is different.
Absolutely. Yeah.
How do you assess the child and and how do you maneuver or pivot, if you will,
Right.
to make sure that, Sally is at this level and
Mhm.
Joey's at this level and Janie's at that level. How do you, in a classroom of 20 or 15 or 16, how does you manage or help manage that teacher to manage those different personalities?
Yeah. It really is assessing your students and seeing where they are and what their needs are and making sure that everybody gets what they need, which goes way beyond the three R's.
Right.
It goes, we have a family resource directors, absolutely fabulous. That's always there to provide needs beyond what you could even imagine, but, clothing, sometimes they help the parents with power bills and directing them to the right agencies and
Sure.
things, so that helps they in turn your kids, of course. So, that helps their home environment. But with those kids, it really just goes to knowing them. And we are blessed that most of the students that we have been at Bevins since they started in kindergarten. So you get to know those parents and you get to know those students and what their needs are. And as they grow, who's getting it and who needs a little something else that you can
Sure.
pull them and work with them. And
Right. Yeah, at this stage of the childhood development, do you see like the kids say, well, I think I may want to be a electrician, or I think I may want to be a doctor. I mean, all kids want to be, all little boys want to be a football player, and
Mhm,
all
mhm.
little girls want to be nurses or actresses. Are there realistic expectations for, or these kids have realistic opportunities with the advent of social media
Mhm,
and
mhm.
all the stuff that these kids are exposed to? Are they do they have realistic expectations, or are they or what are we doing?
I really think for the most part they do. I've had a student or 2 in the past that wanted to be superstars that you try to be kind and tell them it's really important you stay in school and you learn these things so in case you change your mind later on. But
Right,
for the most part, our students really do have we actually had a program today, kindergarten. I told you I had
right.
one at 1 o'clock, and that's what they did is they dressed up for what they wanted to be when they grew up. And we had NASCAR drivers and we had teachers and doctors and vets and but there was a wide variety of I mean, it was realistic expectations for the most part, really was.
And when you were going to school, those that broadening of career
Mhm.
opportunities was very narrow.
Yes,
That tunnel was very
it
narrow.
was.
It was go to coal mine,
Mhm,
go to work
mhm.
as a teacher, go to maybe a nurse, or drive a coal truck.
Yeah.
And now it's opened it up. Have you seen a difference in personalities developing from the students now to maybe 5, 10 years ago?
Yeah, I really think that, input of social media and things of that nature has opened up their world in the sense that they do see other things out there that when I was a little girl just wasn't a part of our community or things that you would think about. You just wanted to be what your mama was or your daddy was or an uncle or something, and now they can see all that. So I think it makes them, aspire to be lots of different things that maybe they wasn't even aware of.
Sure. We were talking about expectation level of the kids. So when a student comes to you to say, "I want to do this,"
Mhm.
um, do they have realistic expectations? How do you foster that, and how do you say, "Listen, you're not cut out for this," or "You
Yeah.
should set your standards higher"? I
Yeah.
mean, do you have those conversations
I
with
mean,
those
we
kids?
do. We inspire our kids to dream, but we teach them to work hard that, in order to accomplish those dreams that they have to put the work in.
Sure.
So, and hopefully that while they're putting that work in, that they'll realize whether that's really something that's feasible for them. Because I mean, you don't want to crash a kid's dreams, so that way then they come to their own realization as they work towards it.
Which is a very valuable lesson at that young age, because
Mhm.
they say, maybe I want to be a basketball player, but I'm only going to be 5'4".
Right, right.
So that's not going to work.
And
Or
you don't want to tell a
I
baby
want to
that.
be, yeah, I
You're
want to
too
be,
short. You can't do
I
that.
want to be a sprinter,
Right,
but I run my mile in 2 hours. So
right.
that's not.
Absolutely.
What do you think are the biggest challenges facing students in your school and your district particularly?
I think that the biggest challenge is that when I was a child, education held a very prestigious place in our society and things. And I think that sometimes in some homes that that's not true. When we talk about some of the kids that maybe don't have the greatest home life, that sometimes parents don't value education, and then that's trickled down in our society. So now sometimes we have some kids and some young people that don't think it's as important either.
Do you see sometimes where the opposite of that happens, where parents may have been dealt a
Mhm,
bad deck of
mhm.
cards, but the students are saying, "Listen, I want to get out of this environment and I
Yes,
want to better myself." Do you see that in your school or in your
absolutely.
career?
Absolutely, every day.
And how do you manage that with with your teachers? Because I'm sure your teachers are like,
Yeah,
they're young teachers and they're
yeah,
like, all I want to do is educate, but I didn't know that part of educating was getting the whole family involved. So
right,
it could be very depressing. How do you
yeah.
handle that with your teachers?
We really don't have a lot of problem with that. Bevins is a small school. Our attendance is 238 right now, so it's a smaller school. So I mean that might be a problem with a bigger one, but for us, it's very family involved. That's what we
Sure.
have a shirt. I should have bought you a shirt today. It says, Bevins, we're a family.
That's right.
I think we're out of some of the sizes we've about sold out, which is a good thing.
That's good.
But we really do put this family at the center of it. We involve them. We have tons of parent nights and activities and bring those parents in, and again goes back to developing that relationship. And the old adage, it takes a village to raise a child. Like,
Sure.
we believe that at Bevins, and we think our parents is important. So our teachers are they buy into that as well, of developing that relationship across the whole family. It's never just about a child,
Right. Yeah.
yeah.
Do you get a lot of family participation when you have those
Yeah,
events?
yeah, we have, probably about half. We had a, STEM night last night, and we had a little bit less than normally. They was probably 50 or 60 there, but it's the end of the year and it's kinda
Right.
hectic.
Sure.
But yeah, in general, we have pretty good participation.
And you've got the dynamic where, you have parents or you have grandparents who are raising kids and grandparents or parents are working two
Yeah,
jobs
yeah,
and some may work night shift or some may work and it's hard for them to get involved.
yeah,
So I'm sure that's a challenge for you
it
too.
is, yeah.
What do you think the biggest challenge in education as a whole, not just your school, but education as a whole, and where do you see that in the next 5 to 10 years?
Honest, I think that attendance is a big problem right now, and I don't know if it goes back to those COVID years where everybody worked from home, and now, I know that the older kids can still do that, but the younger kids have to get up and come to school, and sometimes that's a problem, getting them to
Sure.
get there, and you can't teach them if they're not there,
Yeah.
so
It's ironic. The older kids who can drive are the ones who are staying home, and the younger
I
kids
know,
who need
really.
to be in school
Yes.
can't do because they can't drive.
Right, absolutely. It's not the kid's fault. I
Right.
mean, that's an important point that you brought up because, you have a kid that doesn't come for attendance, and we do rewards. We do tons of stuff. Actually, we did a reward at the beginning of the year, and I got in a dunking booth for every kid that was there on high attendance day. So, like I grew fins that day. I think I got dunked like 250 or 300 times,
That's great.
that they actually hit the target and put me in.
Right.
So, but it's really not the kid's fault. It's really not. Like I said, it's a cultural thing right now that, again, going back to putting that education first and knowing how important it is for your baby to be at school every day.
Well, I'm glad you did the dunking booth because a lot of the principals say if we reach a goal of reading books, I'll shave my head.
Yeah.
So I'm glad that that's
So that
something
they
that
didn't shave their head. Yeah.
no, you'd shave your head.
Well,
You don't want to do
getting
that.
old, it's turning gray. We might need a wig. I
I know.
don't know. Maybe.
What's unique about the Bevins Elementary School?
I think the most unique part really is our family connection. I mean, it's a very special thing, the relationship that we have. And I don't think you see that at every school. And I told you earlier, I was like a mother hen. I like to take care of everybody. So, like, all the teachers are kind of like my kids. They probably will not like that if they hear that.
Right.
I like
Exactly.
to take care of all of them, but I think it's unique because we had that relationship where we work so well together. And it's an amazing team. It just works.
Sure. In your 20 some years of teaching, do you have students that you've educated that have gone on to do things that call back or come back and say, "Hey,
Oh,
just
yeah,
want to let you know, Mrs. Merrill, that
absolutely.
this is what I'm doing with my life now." And
Yeah.
how does that feel for you?
Oh, it's amazing. I'll tell you, one of the most amazing moments as a teacher is when you're standing out in the back parking lot doing bus duty and a high school student gets off the bus to come give you a hug and say, "Hey, I missed you. I'm glad you're out here today. I wanted to see you."
Sure.
High school kids are so cool that they'd have
Yeah.
time to get
Right.
off the bus and give me a
Yeah.
hug. That's pretty awesome.
They don't even like to hug their parents.
No,
Now
no.
they
So
come
I
and
think
hug the
that speaks
teacher.
volumes for
Sure.
sure. Yeah.
I was just going to ask you, what do you think the most rewarding part about your job is? But I think you just answered that.
Yeah, it is. I mean,
So I think educating the students and seeing those students excel
mhm.
in an area. I mean, in Central Appalachia, it's a hard
It is.
deal. but you've got kids that you're educating and you're growing up. They're growing up and becoming great and doing great things. I think it's a testament of the philosophy that principals have, the board has, the teachers have, and everybody's embracing that. And you mentioned the family dynamic that you guys embrace
Mhm.
for the students. I think that's really an important part of educating now, and it wasn't like that back then
No,
when you
it
were going
really
to
wasn't
school.
when I went to school, I don't really I can remember one teacher that I had that connection with, and she bought prizes. Oh, I thought she was the greatest thing ever. If ever who got the high score got this huge Hershey's Kiss she'd put on her desk and bribe us all, to work, and I loved her. But other than, I had some great teachers, but that connection, like I said, like really knowing who you was and stuff, I don't think it was as prominent then as it is now.
Sure. As a manager who I manage 40 some, 50 some people at a time, and I've been through some horrendous managers
Mhm.
that just absolutely were the worst people. And I said, I will never treat my employees that way. I'll never treat a
Yeah,
person who works with me
yeah,
that way. When you became an administrator,
yeah.
did you say, listen, Mrs. So and so or Mr. So and so that I had was such a bad teacher that I will not?
Mhm.
Do you reflect on that and say, this is how I'm not going to be? But
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, and it's a tough balance to be the boss,
right.
but at the same time to make sure they know that you've got their back and you're there to support them at the same time. I mean, I think that's the greatest principle ever when you can accomplish that balance and have the respect of your staff that they know what you expect out of them. And at the same time, that you've got them if they need you. If there's a problem, that you're going to be right there to pick them up and help them.
And it's not just a math problem, it's a life problem.
It is. It is.
Does your staff or do you experience a lot of life problems with your students?
We do, yeah. I
Yeah.
mean, that's probably the hardest part is when you have a kid, and they need something that you can't provide for them.
Yeah.
That's a very, heartbreaking experience.
How do you
You
handle
just
that?
feel helpless.
Well, how do you handle that? Do
Yeah,
you
well,
bring it up to the board? Do you bring it down? The board's got great
they
resources,
do have
right?
great resources, and they provided counselors. We have a counselor in the building, and, she does a fantastic job, and, of course, we refer those kids there. Um But again, we handle it with love. I know that sounds like a
No.
cliche, but I mean, it
No,
really
it's
is.
not.
Yeah.
It's really
Yeah.
it's unique that happened. It's like that school. Every school is like its own little private, like a little city.
It is. You're right.
And it's gotta have a nurse, it's gotta have a psychiatrist,
Uh-huh.
you've gotta have a psychologist, you've gotta have motivational people, you've gotta have educational people, and all of that starts and ends with you, and, it's unique that you have the ability to understand what your controls are, and by virtue of the fact that you just told me that when things are over your head, you reach out
Oh,
and
absolutely.
get
Yes.
help from the board.
Yeah.
Now, I think Mr. Bowling and his staff are pretty instrumental with providing great resources. Would that be a good
They are
statement?
amazing. And I know, like I said, you've interviewed a bunch of new principals this year. Like, there's never a time that I pick up the phone and I call and ask a question that I don't get a quick response. Like, they've been amazing. They have a principal prep program that I went through, and many others of the new principals and that have completed that helps. But I mean, they're always there thinking ahead of what you need and how to provide that and to get you to where you need to be to be, because it's a tough job. I mean, there's no question about it. It's a very difficult job, but it's also a very rewarding job too. It really
What
is.
makes it so difficult?
I think sometimes you have to have a big girl conversation. Like, there's times when I first started at night, like, oh man, tomorrow I have to deal with this or whatever. And you lay awake and think, which, you just have to do things sometimes you don't want to do.
Uncomfortable?
Like, yeah, uncomfortable
Sure.
things. Like, as a person, you don't want to ever have confrontations or, and again, we don't, that's not an everyday thing by any means, but
Right.
every once in a while, you have things that you have to take care of that you'd rather not take care of. You'd rather have somebody else take care of for you, but now the buck stops with you. So you just have to pray your way through it and do what you know is right. And one of the things that I learned when I went through that principal prep program, and I think of this almost daily, is when you make those tough decisions, it's like what would be best for the kids. And that's always the
Sure.
answer. And that's what they said. And I have found that to be very true. That is always the answer, what's best for the kids.
If you had it to do all over again, what would you do different?
Oh gosh, I don't, ooh, that's a hard question. I don't. I don't know.
Would
I
you have gone into administrative faster, or would you have maybe done some high school education first before you got into
Yeah, I
administration?
I really don't think, I mean, maybe that's why it's so hard, is I think that it was great that I had that experience in a classroom. I don't think you can be a good principal if you've not been there and done that and had a lot of experience with kids and families and all that. I think if I had tried to be a principal earlier, that I wouldn't have been able to bring into it what I can bring into it now with some age and experience.
Well,
So
that's
I'm not sure what I would do different, but yeah,
but it seems like you're pretty satisfied with how things have gone for you.
I am. I
And it
feel
seems
very
like
blessed,
and
yes.
it seems like you feel blessed because you've
I
got a
do.
great
I
staff. You've
do.
got your life path is where it's at. You
Yeah.
said you were sitting in your house talking to yourself, wrangling with yourself. Did your husband think you were crazy or what?
Yeah, probably. Yeah, for sure.
But you made the right decision, and there's a lot of students that count on you every day to get up,
Yeah.
go to work, put a smile on your face,
Yeah.
regardless of what's dealing with you personally.
Yeah.
So
That's it.
the last question I'm going to ask you is,
Yeah.
when you get up every day, get out of bed and get motivated, what motivates you to do the best and be the best for those children that you've got? What is the single most motivational thing that you have that says, Sandy's gonna get her butt out of bed today. I'm gonna go. My toilet overflowed last
Yeah,
night.
yeah.
The bathtub doesn't work. My husband didn't unload the dishwasher. I burnt dinner last night. I've got but I've got 238 students and a staff
Yeah.
that is counting on me.
I
I need to get mentally prepared. How do I do that?
Absolutely. I think that almost, like, it sounds kinda crazy, but you just get up every day and you think, "Okay, I can make a difference in the world today. How am I gonna do it? What am I gonna do today? What child's life can I touch maybe, or maybe a high five or a good morning, how are you, that will make a difference in that child's life somehow."
And maybe that high five eliminates the overflowed toilet that you had at their
Yeah,
house.
absolutely, I think it does for sure, yeah.
Well, that's fantastic. Sandy, I want to thank you very much for joining me today. This has been another remarkable, enlightening, phenomenal podcast of the Excellence in Education brought to you by the Pike County School System. I'm so enamored with the principles, your insights, how you handle the trials and tribulations. It's just an amazing thing that, like you said years ago, you gave them a book, you read the book, you
Yeah,
give them a test, that's it. It's not like that anymore. You guys have grown exponentially and you're making a difference one child at a time.
thank you.
Thank you for doing what you do and thank you for joining me today.
I appreciate you having me here.
There you go. Thanks for being with us. I appreciate you.
Thank you.
All right.